Welcome, everybody, to Survive and Advance on the Grizzly Truth Sports Network. I'm your co-host for Survive and Advance, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my other co-host, 1981 national champion and a legend in his own mind, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Having a great day, Mike. How you doing today, buddy?
I am doing great. And, of course, we've got from the NFL show, our NFL beat writer, Sam Teets. How you doing, Sam?
I'm doing awesome, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
All right, so tonight, Survive and Advance, we're going to talk about everything that's going on in the world. So it all revolves around COVID, as we've had multiple, NFL players opt out for next season. We've had the Miami Marlins with, I think it was 17 positive cases. And when we look at this, I mean, I'm one that didn't even think Major League Baseball should attempt to do this because I think it's asinine and not a real season anyways at 60 games. Steve, what do you think is going to happen here? Is there any way they finish this season? Should they finish it?
Yeah, we were talking about it off air. I think it's in peril big time right now. Of course, they're only, 5-6 days into the season. So it's awful early to be making any claims whether they're going to finish the season or not. This is not a promising sign. I was listening to the commissioner of baseball, Bob, what's his last name? I've got it. Manford. And, he too said, not the way we want to start, but I don't think it's reason to say we're going to shut down just yet. What's so scary with that is this is really the same boat the NFL is going to try and travel in. It's virtually identical. They're going to let the players stay at home. They're going to have team planes. They're going to be going in and out of airports. But all in all, I'd say right now, if I was the MLB, just because of having sports on it, go give it another 14 days and see what happens. Was this a unique problem to the Marlins because Florida is considered the hot spot of the virus right now? Or because nothing's happened in LA or New York. They've been quiet. And those are the other two hot spots. So I'd say at this point, they're in serious jeopardy, but I'm not sure I'd blow retreat just yet.
All right, Sam, what do you think?
I mean, I think there's possibility that you're going forward with this MLB season. You're not going to have it be as well planned out as you expect it to be. I hate bringing soccer into this, but the MLS had a situation where they quite literally had two teams they didn't end up using during the season because they had such high COVID-19 test rates, such high positive rates, they just didn't end up bringing those two teams in because it just didn't make sense to. So I think we get to see a situation in Major League Baseball where potentially you have teams that either don't play the full season in terms of the game number or teams that just end up kind of getting cut out of the bigger picture, I guess you could say. Because I think they really want to play this season as much as possible. I think they want to get through as many games as possible. I think the best way, or maybe potentially the best way for them to figure this out and get through the entire season and maybe make it to the playoffs is you can't do it all evenly, I don't think. I don't think there's a way to get every team to play every game you had scheduled. I don't think it's going to happen just based on what's going on. So I think there's a possibility where some teams might finish the regular season without maximum number of games. And there's a possibility where some teams toward the end of the season just might be playing games at some point.
Yeah, so Mike, let me – and that's exactly the point I was going to get to, Mike. I know you want to give your 2 cents worth whether the season should go on or not, and it's viable. You should give that. You're pretty smart. Or do we just whack out the Marlins right now and say, Marlins, shut you down. You're done. Sam, Mike, first give your opinion. Should the season go on?
Well, my question is this. If this was the New York Yankees or the Los Angeles Dodgers that had 17 players test positive, would this even continue? Would it just be shut down right away? Because I think it's a lot different if you lose the Miami Marlins. Hell, nobody in Miami cares about the Marlins. So when I look at this is a season that never should have been played because look at it like this. They canceled the season because of the pandemic. Now they're trying to play a season in the middle of the same pandemic. How does that make any sense? It's absolutely asinine. I mean, the NHL, I think, has the best chance of pulling it off. They're in a bubble. The NBA is in a bubble. The difference there is I think NHL players make a lot less money than NBA players. They're less likely to try to get outside of that bubble. I think the NHL has a good chance to pull this off. Major League Baseball, I don't think the season lasts another 2 weeks. I wish it did. I like watching the Reds. I don't really like watching baseball, but I like to watch my Reds, even though they suck. But the NBA, I think there's a decent shot. The NFL, though, my question to you guys is this. We've seen a lot of players opt out. Dante Hightower, one of the best linebackers in football. The Patriots have lost 5 players already. Why, if I'm the NFL, why don't I just decide to start this season maybe at Thanksgiving and just play a 12 or 14 game season, play your playoffs, and then you give this time, past the election and the riots that will happen after that, you'll clear that, and then you can actually play a season that is legit. I mean, maybe these guys, if you see cases drop big time by November, which hopefully they do, you could still play a full season from the end of November. I mean, you've got November to December, January, February, play the playoffs in March.
Oh, Sam, to follow up on what Mike said, do you see anything getting better by Thanksgiving? I don't. I mean, until you produce an anecdote or –
What's an anecdote? Wait a second. No, you're talking about a vaccine, Steve, which cannot be produced that quick. It's bullshit.
No.
I mean, this is the thing.
I don't see it being any better by Thanksgiving than it is now. So you might as well go give it a shot now.
It's according it's
getting worse.
It's according who's running the numbers, Steve. Steve, this is the thing. 3 months ago, we were told it wasn't safe to wear masks. Now you're told you have to wear a mask. They tell us they're going to give us a vaccine. You work for Big Pharma. You know how long it takes to get a legitimate vaccine. There's still no legitimate vaccine for the flu, and how long have they been trying to do that? What we have is COVID is real, but I think the numbers are being cooked. And I think this, at some point, it comes down to the fact, do you want to live your life or do you want to hide in your house in fear? And the thing is this, if I'm 70 years old or I've got major medical problems, I'm probably going to hide in the house. But I'm not 70 years old, even though I feel like it sometimes. I don't want to hide in the house. I don't want to see seniors in high school or seniors in college lose that final year. And this is the thing. I mean, when we talk about college football, and Steve, we did a show about it a couple weeks ago. College football has to play a season at some point, whether it's in the fall or next spring, because if they don't, there's going to be grave consequences for smaller programs.
Agreed. Totally agreed. But I just don't see any difference in trying to go for it now or waiting until Thanksgiving. I logistically, I'm sure somebody's looked at it. I agree with you with cooking the numbers, and I agree with you that it takes a lot longer to legitimately bring a product to market. And the other thing you have to realize is, having been in the industry for 25 years, whatever they produce is only going to be between 40 to 60% effective anyway. You're still going to miss a big part of the camp, Sam.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on what the NFL or MLB should do? I'm more comfortable with the hockey and with the NBA because they're trying to live in this bubble. Unless you want strip clubs and chicken wings, then you're going to go outside the bubble no matter what you're getting paid.
Yeah, I think hockey and the NBA have a good chance of pulling this off. I really think there's a good shot for them. I think the NBA needs to be a little bit more potentially limiting in who they're letting outside the bubble, or at least why you're letting them out of the bubble. I think if you really want to pull this off, you like family emergencies, I totally understand. But if you're letting Lou Williams out there and you find he's going to a gentleman's club and ordering hot wings and French fries, I think it's pushing it a little bit in my opinion. But at the same point, I think those two have good chances of pulling this off.
Wait a second, which do you have a problem with, hot wings or French fries?
Hey, I heard the hot wings are pretty good apparently. So, but
apparently, haven't you ever had hot wings, Sam?
No, I think the issue is going to be
Sam's never had hot wings, Steve.
Sam, I think the problem you run into here is that, and I guess I don't know what the roster makeup is of a hockey team. How many players are on a hockey team? Is the 10 to 20 or somewhere in that vicinity? Anybody know, Mike? What's the makeup of
2021?
Okay, the NBA's only got 12 players to deal with. You start getting into baseball, they got to carry a minimum 24 to 26 players. You got to have 5, 6, 7 of our pitchers. You got to have a backup at every position. NFL is going to try and do this with what, 50 players? I think, wasn't that the number?
And then even expanded. They got expanded practice squads as well, so it's going to end up being larger numbers of players who are going to be working with regularly.
Yeah, but they won't travel with the teams. They'll just sit in the bubble in their hometowns. So I think it's a futile attempt. But I tell you what, right now I'm enjoying it, getting up on Saturday and watching sports. It can't be done. And Mike, I know you're going to dump all over me, but NASCAR runs a team of 6 crew members and 1 driver, and they've had 1 driver be tested positive. Other than that, they stayed completely clean.
We're talking about sports, not NASCAR, Steve.
Oh, come on. I know.
It's not a sport. The car does all the work.
You knew that was coming, Steve.
What?
You knew that was coming.
What are the ratings for NASCAR
now?
And what were the ratings for NASCAR when there were no other sports in the entire world being played? Did it beat out Australian rules?
The first sport to come back out of this whole mess was NASCAR. And they're putting 5 to 10, 15,000 fans in the stands.
No, it's not a sport. That would be like saying soccer's a sport.
Okay, well, I'm not going to get into that debate with you when we're talking baseball and football. I think baseball's doomed.
Yeah, sports.
Yeah, well, as you want to take it, I'll give you that to save that for a different debate. But I think at this point, given what happened and how quickly and easily it can happen, I mean, 1 player can go out, snatch it, and catch it, and then within 5 days, you've got half the team infected. It's just that spreadable.
Well, we saw that with the NBA. The NBA, you had 1 player tested positive. Then you had, I think, a referee or something. And then before you know it, since they play every couple days, there was like 10 or 12 teams affected, Sam. And this is probably how this is going to end up for Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're going to catch it a little bit too late in every case. I think you're going to have a situation where it's just going to get out and it's going to become impossible to contain. So I think at some point during the season, I don't know when, but it's going to hit a point where it's going to be not just 1 team, not just 2 teams that are affected, but it's going to be 10 to 12, maybe even more than that teams that are going to have multiple players missing or just aren't going to be able to play at all. And so if you hit that point, are you going to be able to play games? Are you still going to try to push it through, or are you just going to call it off?
There are teams already in baseball that are not in question saying, I'm not going to Florida. I don't want to be in the dugout there. I don't want to use their locker room. I'm just – now you're going to have teams opt out of playing the Marlins just because they don't want to touch anything there. The vending machines, whatever's in those locker rooms, they don't want to touch them. And they want no part of it. And I think now the Marlins have already lost 2 series, have they not? Their next series is Baltimore, I think, over the weekend or something like that, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so. They were scheduled to play.
They're not supposed to play again now until next Tuesday. But the problem there is I believe it was the governor in Miami announced that he thinks the Marlins should adhere to a 14-day quarantine protocol when returning to South Florida since they have been knowingly exposed to COVID-19. So when you look at that, I don't think that Miami may be playing for a while because it's going to be hard not to quarantine them when you're quarantining anybody else that comes into the city of Miami.
That's a great point. I didn't even think of that. In fact, technically, if you go into New York, you got a 14-day traveler's quarantine. See, we don't have that out here in California. There's no quarantine out here. I mean, for traveling into
nobody wants to come together.
No, I agree. I want to get out of here as fast as I can.
Nobody wants to come to California.
No,
It's horrible.
It's-
Well, tell your
it's
wife it's
horrible
time to
out here.
move.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
what
but
to do to go from Montana or Wyoming.
I think this goes back a little bit to the point I was mentioning earlier, where Major League Soccer just told two teams that they just weren't going to play because of how high their positive test rates were. When do you reach a point where you're just tell a baseball team, hey, if you're going to miss 2.5 weeks, if you're going to miss 20 days, or you're not going to be playing baseball, I mean, you're missing so many games at that point. You're not going to be able to reschedule all those games. So what do you do at that point? What happens if you get 2 or 3 teams that reach that point? Do you just call the season,
Then
or
you
you
go
just say, hey,
playoffs
we're moving
on
these 3 teams to
percentage
play?
points. You end up with playoffs decided by percentage points instead of wins and losses.
Well, Mike, is this a situation right now with when you get and I see no way the NFL is going to survive if baseball can't survive, because you've doubled the number of people that are dressing for a game now. But is this just a situation where fairly, but that the players just making too much money, and really to them they don't care? I mean, you have a lot of unspecified opt-outs. Guys that just say, I just don't feel like playing. I'm worth about 80, 90, $100 million. I got a contract. I won't get a year on my pension for retirement for this season. I'll still get paid a stipend of $150,000 a year minimum. But I really just don't feel like playing in all this heat in summer and messing with this stuff and possibly getting it.
Well, this is the thing, Steve. The NFL has a history of not really caring about the health and well-being of their players.
I agree.
And I think this is something where I think if you're a player and you can get 350 or 150 grand just to chill out for the year, screw the owners. I mean, the NFL has turned into a debacle anyways. I mean, if you look at them, they overreact late on every issue that ever comes upon them, whether it's CTE, police brutality. I mean, come on, now they want to play a black national anthem before a game. And the thing is this, that's pathetic. And not because it's a black national anthem, but the fact that this was dropped in their lap 4 or 5 years ago, and they ignored it then. They don't ignore it now because now the players are demanding that they don't. So when they can't ignore it anymore, they're going to go even over the top to prove to the players that they are doing the right thing. You know, you change the name of the Redskins, you do all this stuff, but in the end, they're just about making the money. So if any league can make it through the season, it's the NFL, because the NFL proved in 1987 they have no problem with taking prison guards, construction workers, throwing a Washington Redskins helmet on them, playing against a bunch of prison guards that act like Dallas Cowboys. They don't care. They just want their money. And in the end, they don't give 2 shits about the players or the fans. They're just a bunch of rich billionaires. They're just trying to make sure they don't lose their asses this year.
It's the Washington football team. The Redskins.
No, it's back in 1987, it was the Washington Redskins.
Yeah, but they have ceased to exist now. Now it's just the Washington football team.
Yeah, and that's Daniel Snyder, who once again cannot make a decision. And he definitely can't make a good decision, so now he's going to call his team the Washington football team. It's absolutely asinine. And the amount of owners that are an absolute joke in the NFL, from Jerry Richardson, who got kicked out. Robert Kraft is only still in the NFL because he hired Bill Belichick, who made him look brilliant. Robert Kraft is a miserable human being. I mean, just look at how he met this wife. And when he met her, the wife he was with who had cancer. I mean, he's a scumbag. These are all a bunch of rich assholes. They're scumbags. They're all basically like Washington, D.C. They all could be in the Senate, and they would fit right in, or to Congress, either one. So what you got with the NFL is a bunch of people that don't give a shit except about themselves, and they want to make their money, and they want to see. That's why, Sam, they're in there trying to make these deals. Well, if the season's canceled, we get this much back. You know, this isn't about playing the season. This is about losing as little money as they can, which is great. They're businessmen. But once again, all these seasons were canceled. Not the end. All the other sports were canceled during a pandemic. And no matter how cooked the numbers are, people are dying. And the fact that still, during a pandemic, leagues want to start up again will tell you how asinine this is.
Yeah, Sam, I had a question for you tying into what Mike said. Answer the question for what Mike said. Then Mike brought up some great points. Is the NFL making any money off this season, or are they losing money?
The NFL could make money. They could still go in the green. They're going to have a revenue loss in terms of what I think they were projecting for, and it's going to impact future seasons. That's why the salary cap's going to drop next year. I think the league could actually, you could see individual teams might lose money even, but they're going to kind of try to spread that out a little bit, trying to cut that down. They could make money because they got TV contract. If you put games out on the field, you can make money on TV contract. You're still going to make a lot of money. So there's still an opportunity for them to make, of course, all that money back that they want. But the issue is, again, you're going to lose money from concessions. You're going to lose money in probably sponsorships. You're going to lose money from the fans not showing up. And there's a lot of stuff that comes into this besides just the big TV contracts and stuff like that. So there are teams in danger of potentially going into the red this year on certain elements of what they're doing between facilities, personnel, all that kind of stuff. You could end up losing money as a football team this year, which isn't something that usually happens. So it's really a big mess for football. I think they're really trying to get done. But again, it's all about the money. If they weren't in trouble, if they weren't in potential of losing so much money, they wouldn't really be worried about playing a season, I don't think.
Well,
because go ahead.
Mike, do they take this back to the NFLPA when they're renegotiating a new long-term pact or a new deal and say, hey, we lost money. We can't pay you what we were paying you the last 3 years.
They just approved this new CBA anyways over the last few months, so I don't think there's much they can do there. I don't think the players are going to really get it.
I mean, is it signed?
Well, I'll tell you this. They did reach an agreement a couple days ago saying that next to the cap for the 2021 season, the salary cap will drop down to no lower than $175 million. Because the owners originally talked about cutting the salary cap somewhere between $40 to $60 million, which would have been absolutely insane for 1 year. Salary cap this year, by the way, is $198.2 million. They're talking about cutting down to at most $175 million next year, about $20 million hit. To put that in perspective, there are teams that are projected to be over $200 million. Next year, there's 4 teams, I think, projected to have over $200 million invested in player contracts for the coming season, for the next season. So, as it is, the owners are taking a huge chunk out of the salary cap. They're not going to pay a lot of guys. Like, if you're a free agent this coming season, if you're Joey Bosa or George Kittle, it's going to impact your ability to make money. You're not going to be able to get a near-record deal because teams won't be able to afford it because the salary cap took a $20 million hit. And that's how owners are playing and making money back, or the money back that they're going to lose this season. They're going to cut the salary cap over a 40, 70-year span, and they're going to take that back from the players.
Okay. Mike, let's drop this down a couple levels. You're involved in it directly. What now? The pros I can understand because there's big money involved on both ends, both sides of the field. The owners got a chance to make or break, and the players. If you want to give up a prorated salary of 10 or 11 million, I mean that would make my wife pretty happy if I came home with $11 million this summer. She'd be happy. But now let's drop it down now to college and to high school. Should college and high school be playing too? Or should they just cancel their seasons right now?
My point here with high school is this. High school, you're not flying places. You can kind of control things a little bit more, I think. Mm-hmm. If they're going to have school, you might as well play football. I think all these sports should be playing. I think everybody should be living their lives. I mean, I know it may sound cruel and hideous because people are dying, and I acknowledge people are dying from this. But what's the death count in the last month? How many people have died? A few thousand? And I know that's a lot of people, especially if you know one. I know people who have been affected by this. But once again, there comes a time in life with the mask. I think that's about control. I think that our government every year takes a little bit more control away from our lives. And I think this is a slippery slope. I don't trust a Dr. Fauci. I mean, go look at his research and his dealings with AIDS. The guy's a scumbag. Donald Trump's a scumbag. Everybody that's a Democrat or Republican is a scumbag. All right? We are being fed a bunch of crap to scare the hell out of us to make us all put masks. I mean, this is about dehumanizing people. I can't shake your hand. We can't have any contact. I got to wear a mask. And I know that a lot of people are going to think I'm nuts. But at the end of time, when we look at this 3 months ago, we were being told stuff completely different from now. And if you really wanted to shut this down, if you shut it down in February and March for 2 months, nobody goes anywhere. You're not hanging out at Walmart, because you were supposed to shelter in place, but you go to Walmart, there's all kind of people all over the place there. Fat women in pajamas with their butts hanging out and everything. I mean, that's not safe. Nobody wants to see that, by the way, for all you women that do that. But I just think that nothing adds up in this. And I really think when this is all said and done, hopefully we'll know the hideous things that are going on behind the scenes, because right now it is obviously a man-made virus. Every doctor I've talked to says it's too perfect to not be man-made. They are trying to control us. How do you control people? Well, you wear a mask. If you wear a mask, maybe your kid can play high school football. Maybe your neighbor won't die. I mean, I've heard him say that. I saw a guy in Texas who was a public health official say, well, we found out it's a lot. So you need to wear a mask in your own house. I mean, this is all a bunch of shit. All right. I'm sorry, but there's no other word for it. We're being played. And the problem is this right now, you got people that are about to lose their unemployment. Think of it like this. They're going to go from $600 down to maybe $200. My wife is all of a sudden going to be making $200 a week. She was furloughed. This was not her fault. A lot of people were like that. And you've got Republicans, rich as hell, sitting there in Congress and the Senate saying, well, we don't want to de-incentivize you going to work. Well, is this a pandemic or is it not a pandemic? Because if it's a pandemic, maybe people shouldn't be working. Everybody should have their ass at home. That's why I don't trust this. If this was that hideous, if this is that deadly, why are we fighting about this? And why, when you have that unemployment about to run out, do they take a 2-week recess? They come back for a week, accomplish absolutely nothing. They took the weekend off in between that, and still you have people that are committing suicide over this because they don't know where they're going to pay their bills. And you got a bunch of people that we voted for to supposedly work for us that sit on their ass and do nothing but argue and try to put junk in a bill that doesn't need to be there when they should be worried about the families and the people that are basically taking care of this country. You can have all the billionaires in the world, but if you don't have people to do the dirty work, shit don't get done. And in the end, the people that do the dirty work are always the ones being shit on. And I'm tired of seeing it. And I mean, there's a guy, his name is Jack Windsor. He's in Ohio. He's always calling the Governor DeWine, Amy Acton, all these people on the carpet for all the crap that they do. He had a Facebook group page with a few 100,000 people. Facebook took it down today because they didn't want to hear a dissenting point of view. And the problem right now is Google controls everything. All right. And I hate to say this on here because I'll probably be broke after this because they'll probably demonetize us. But this is absolutely a joke. There is something going on here. We don't know what it is. And I can tell you this, if my kid's a senior in high school, I want him to play football. It's the last chance he gets to do that. And when you look at this, I mean, I just don't see, you got a death rate of well below 1%. The hospitalizations are going down. Cases are going up, but you also have a test that they give you, which is 30 to 40% accurate. So I just think in the end, I think we should play. I think we let the chips fall where they may. I know it sounds bad, but I think right now, the fact that our government goes on a 2-week vacation instead of taking care of what they're supposed to take care of, come back for a week and still don't take care of it, I think maybe there should be mass protests in the streets, no matter what color you are, for the crap that is being done to us and the stuff that our elected, supposedly leaders are failing to do.
I'll jump in there and I'll say you're right. They've been sending mixed messages for a while now, and you and me can both acknowledge the government not getting its job done, and then taking unnecessary vacations is nothing new. They've been doing that for years. But I mean, I agree with you on some points there. It's certainly been mixed messages all throughout this entire process. People between being told to stay home or being told to work, no one seems to be able to come up with a clear idea. So I agree there to some extent with you, not entirely, but to some extent I do agree with you. This has been totally botched.
Don't you agree with me, Sam? That could make this a more entertaining show.
I don't know if I want to go there, Mike.
Don't say anything, Sam. I know how this turns out, but go ahead.
I mean, I'm going to turn to college football real quickly. I'm going to do a right turn here and go to college football for 1 second.
Yeah.
I saw.
I didn't get my point in on Goodpaster.
All right, you can go. You can show Steve. It's your turn.
Merry Christmas.
You can go, Steve. It's your turn.
Hell, he talked so long, I forgot what I was going to say now.
You asked me a question. I answered it.
Yeah. No, well, I was trying to say if they should shut down football and college, and you want to shut down Congress. I didn't say anything about Congress.
Congress should be shut down. They don't do anything.
Congress shuts themselves down. They're going back on vacation in 6 days. They've got 6 days to get this bill passed, and then they're taking another break. I wish my wife got that many breaks.
Worth millions of dollars.
Yeah, I wish my wife got that many breaks. Every time you turn around, they work 2 weeks, take 6 off. Isn't that great? The whole problem with Congress, Mike, is it's the fox that guards the hen house. They make their own laws for themselves. There's nobody that makes laws for Congress. They just voted in themselves.
Yeah.
They go, we want a pay raise. All right, we'll stick it in. We'll stick it in the 184th line of a bill that's going to, do this, and it's called line item politics. And you got to give the president line item vetoes. So he can go, yeah, you can have all this, but Congress gets a raise, check. That's done. We're not giving them a raise right now. So anyway, go ahead, Sam. Now back to college.
Now, first off, Mike, on the point of high school football, I do agree with you. I think if you're going to actually go to high school and send your kids to high school, I think at that point, I mean, if they're gonna get sick, they're gonna get sick. If you're gonna have high schools open, I think you might as well play high school football, because at that point, it's not making, I don't think, a huge difference. You're gonna have that many kids together in one place.
How about this, Sam? What's more dangerous, COVID or playing football?
Yeah, you got a decent. I mean, it's hard because I think I can control playing football more than I can control something that I can't see. I guess you could say it that way.
Quit being a sissy, Sam. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, Mike, I'll just say I played 3 years of varsity football at a major high school in Indiana. Never got a scratch on me. And I could go outside and shake the hand of my neighbor and walk away with COVID immediately. COVID's more dangerous.
Is it?
Well, to get it, because I believe with you said, I believe it is man-made, and I believe that bug gets into your body and looks at your body and says, this is your weakness, this is what we're going to go after. I've seen guys that lost fingers. Circulation's a big thing now. I take Lasix, a diuretic, and they'd say everybody should be on a diuretic because it increases blood flow. And guy lost all of his fingers and everything because he lived, he's healthy, just circulation went to shit.
Well, how about this? What if you cut all the GMOs out of food and everybody actually ate healthy and your immune system was strong enough to fight anything?
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
But once again, why do you have GMOs? Because they're allowed. They're legal because Monsanto or Bayer or whatever it's called now, they got big lobbyists. So you can do what you want.
Right. No, I don't disagree with you there. I agree with both you guys. I think if you're going to go to high school, go ahead and play football. I don't think it's going to be any more evil for you to do that. The thing that concerns me, the only reason that would concern me, I'm not sure the financial budgets that a lot of high schools will have to keep their facilities as sterile as possible.
Why would you have to keep
schools don't have the money? Pardon?
Steve, it's been proven over the last 3 weeks, the CDC and the World Health Organization all said it is very rare to be able to get anything off of the surface. It is almost all through the air.
Okay.
I mean, so when you look at that, Sam, am I wrong there? Or Sam, I think only watches sports, though.
Yeah, really, that's mostly it. But some breaking news, though. I do have some breaking news here. The Chargers and defensive end Joey Bosa have just reached a 5-year, $135 million extension. That's $27 million a year. That's a new NFL record.
I bet he didn't opt out.
No, he didn't. He showed up today at the last minute, and he knocked down the extension. Myles Garrett set the record earlier this offseason, signing a 5-year, $125 million deal. Bosa now, I think maybe 2-3 weeks later, snaps that. So it looks like they're planning to play football this year if you're still getting massive deals like this done.
Well, just think how much his brother will get once he gets close to his 4th year.
Oh, by the time his brother comes up, he'll be making like over $30 million a year to be a defensive end.
I think the Bosa's mom and dads are never going to have to work another day in their life.
Oh no.
I think that the kids are going to take care of them.
Yeah.
Good for them.
They'll be fine.
Good for them.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to discuss, Steve?
Yeah, I just real quickly, any update on college football? Are we going to have a season or not? Go ahead.
I got one thing. I think, and this wasn't an update about whether they're going to play it or not, but this is something that's going to tell you why they really want to play it. So Barry Alvarez, who is the athletic director for the Wisconsin Badgers, this was about, I want to say 5 days ago, came out and said that they're projecting between $60 to $70 million in revenue losses from playing a conference-only 10-game schedule. So that's from playing a conference-only 10-game schedule. You're still losing $60 to $70 million in revenue. And if you were to cancel the entire season, those losses would exceed over $100 million. To put that in perspective, the entire athletic department for Wisconsin has a $140 million operating budget for this year. So if you cancel the season, $100 million in revenue out the window at least. Yeah, it's basically an entire academic year's worth of budget you're losing from not playing college football for a season. So there will be college football this year, or I guess you hear this academic year at some point, whether it be the fall or the spring. They're going to have to play just because you cannot possibly not play college football. Because if you didn't play college football at all this year, you would have to see programs cut across athletic departments, even in the big schools, even at LSU, Clemson, Wisconsin, Ohio State.
Stanford's already cut programs.
Yeah, Stanford already cut a bunch of programs.
Yeah.
So I think if you don't play college football, if you don't play college football, you're losing a bunch of programs at major schools.
Sam, do they go, or Mike, whichever one knows best? Division 1, 2, and 3 all safe, or do we cut out Division 3? I mean, my son played Division 3 football. If he wanted tennis shoes or cleats, he bought them on his own. I mean, he bought his own speed helmet because the equipment they had there was, Clovis would probably, his one place Clovis would die was in the locker room at Wittenberg University. And I'm not knocking Wittenberg. It's one of the nicer Division 3 college programs. But are we cutting out? Is there any chance only D1 plays Mike, or do we just go with everybody gets to play?
Well, I think that's possible because I think small programs are the ones that are really going to be hurt by this, especially if you've got no crowd. And yeah. I think in the end, what you'll see is I think that there'll be a have and have not, just like there is in the world, where you'll have the 5, maybe 6 major conferences will all play as Division 1, and there's everybody else. I think this. I think this is the perfect opportunity for the Power 5 conferences to do what they want, which is to eliminate the possibility of a Central Florida or a Memphis or a Cincinnati slipping in to that college playoff and pulling a few $1 million away from the big schools. So I think this is the perfect opportunity for them to separate themselves. It gives them a reason to do it, and then they can do what they've always wanted to do.
I agree entirely, Mike. I agree with you.
Yeah, I'm with you on that as well. Because I think look at it, there's some schools even at the D1 level where the cost to play is going to outweigh the potential revenue. You good?
He forgot he was on camera.
No, I just hate it when I agree with Goodpaster. It just honks me off. That's all it was. I was like, yeah.
Well, it does mean finally you were right. I thought you were just farting. Go ahead.
No, I'm just like, I got to agree with him, and I don't like doing that. Just for general purposes.
You're right, though.
All right. Final. Let's end it this way. Mike, does MLB make it to the entire season?
No.
Sam?
No.
I think not. I think they don't make it. NHL make it to the entire season?
Yes.
Probably.
And if NBA make it to the entire season?
Probably.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, I'll go
so.
optimistic. I'll say yes.
NFL?
I think they will start late. I don't know when it'll be 2-3 weeks or a month
They're
or two.
going to camp. They're in camp now, aren't they? Didn't they go to start camp this week?
A couple teams
Well,
started camp this week.
Major League Baseball started camp too.
Okay.
And then they shut it down, and then they started it up again. So.
Does the NCAA start this year or not? Or do they wait till after the NFL plays or try and follow the footsteps there or find a date in January and February? Mike, you proposed this. I thought it was a good proposal. Twice I've got to agree with you. This show's getting boring.
Why? You're right.
Does the NCAA just shut it down until after the NFL or for the rest of this year and say, we're going to try it in January, February? Mike?
They're going to have to play, at least the big schools are. So I think it's also possible you see a conference-only schedule where they don't start until conference play would start, which is maybe 3 or 4 weeks into the season, which would push you back to the end of September maybe, start of October. You could still play a conference season, have your playoffs, have your BS bowl games, but I think you'll see the bowl games possibly eliminated too. But they've got to play and limit their losses as much as they can.
Well, Sam, aren't they going to backfill the conference schedules?
Yeah.
They're going to backfill, like if say Indiana. I'll just use them for an example. Don't, because they're certainly not. But Indiana's got the first 4 games that are non-conference games, right? Now, is Indiana going to backfill those 4 games with conference play and play 10 conference games, or are they just going to go with the 7 conference games or 11?
From what I've read, they're going to try to do a conference-only 10-game season.
Okay. And what does Notre Dame do?
Notre Dame's trying to join the ACC for this.
Well, they don't want to. They're being forced to. They don't.
Oh yeah,
want
that's the only
But how
option.
about
That's the
that?
only option.
How about this? If what we say is true, though, Steve, about wanting just the Big 5 power conferences, then Notre Dame's going to have to get on
That's
board and
doing
play
one,
ball
right.
and go to the
Exactly.
ACC.
Yeah. Yeah, but Notre Dame does. They're the wealthiest college team. I mean, in terms of revenue coming in on an annual basis, they don't share with anybody.
But they're also about the only independent. They're about the only independent left too, though,
Right.
and that's what's going to kill them if the Power 5 become basically
Yeah,
Division
they'll have
One
to
college.
join some. I think they already play 6 ACC teams right now, so they'll pick up 4 more ACC teams. I think the ACC's already agreed to find a hole for them and give them 4 more games because all the rest of the Notre Dame programs are in the ACC. Basketball plays in the ACC. I think most other inline sports that use the ACC is where they play. So I think that's going to happen. Yeah.
I think it's just going to accelerate.
I got stuff to do, guys. Come on. Anybody got anything else?
Mike,
You
who's
right.
going to win the NASCAR series this year?
Richard Petty.
No, he's not.
He's the only one I know.
All right.
Nobody cares. All right. Sam, tell everybody where they can find you on Twitter.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Sam_Teets33. I'm constantly putting new articles, stats, polls up there every day, so feel free to go check those out.
All right. Is my neck way too big or is Sam's way too small? I can't figure
Sam,
it
just
out.
too close to the camera. I got to lean back a little bit more like you, Mike. Like here.
Yeah. I got
I am
two.
right now. I'm actually close here. It's just the angle. But what are you, Sam? Like 6'5"?
I wish. I wish. I wish. You know what? Yes, I'm 6'5". Like let's go with that. I'm 6'5". We'll go with that.
Yes, and he's much better looking in person than he is on camera. Steve, where can people follow you on Twitter?
At SRisley34 on any type of medium. I'm easy. Just SRisley34, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you want to find me. Just punch in at SRisley34 or hashtag SRisley34. I'll get it.
All right. You can follow me at Grueling Truth. You can listen to me and Sam on the NFL show tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern time, as we'll talk the 10 greatest offenses in the history of the NFL.
Great.
And
I'm
then,
going to be a guest tomorrow.
no, you're not. Then at 2:30, Grueling Truth, boxing historian, used to be a boxing historian for HBO Sports. Christopher Shelton will be with me to talk about the career of former heavyweight contender George Chuvalo. At 4 o'clock tomorrow, Inside Boxing Weekly will be back with myself and award-winning boxing writer John Respondi. You can hear that at 4 o'clock. So, for now, for Steve Risley, Sam Teets.
Wait a minute. I got to ask both you guys because I'm going to make you look silly. What is the significance of Faber College?
Fictional. It's made up.
Like Steve's degree. Knowledge is good. That's
You guys never saw Animal House.
No.
Yeah, I did, John Belushi. I don't remember it because it was like 1978, and I was like 10 when I saw it.
What's the number on there?
1963. So I'm sure it has to do with Animal House since you said Animal House. Sam, have you ever seen Animal House?
You've never seen Animal House?
I'm 21 years old, guys.
What's that got to do with anything? I've seen movies from the 1930s. I was born in 1968. All right, so this is what we're going to do. Before Sam can come on Survive and Advance again with me and Steve, he has to sit down and watch John Belushi on air in Animal House.
I love Animal House.
You'll like Animal House.
All right.
Have you seen Slapshot?
Oh, Slapshot. You got to watch the next one. Slapshot,
No.
maybe.
Have you seen Slapshot, Sam?
All right. I'm getting a lot of things I need to watch now. I haven't watched that either, no.
You haven't seen Slapshot with the Hanson brothers?
Have you seen Rocky?
Yes, I've seen Rocky.
I watched Rocky
Okay.
about 2 days ago.
I've watched Rocky 7,000 times.
I know. I'm probably right behind you. So.
But all right, so we're gonna wrap it up. If anybody,
Hey, you know what's a good sports movie that we watched the other day? For the love of the game.
I love that movie.
Kevin
Was it Kevin
Costner,
Costner throwing the perfect game?
Yeah, Billy Chappell.
That is an underrated movie.
Very
the first time
underrated
I watched
movie.
that movie, you could feel the tension when he's going for the perfect game.
And my wife loved it. I mean, I said, Kelly Preston just passed away. Let's watch this. And you like Kevin Costner. And I got her to sit down and watch it. She loved it. So I got a sports movie I can watch whenever now.
So have you seen For Love of the Game, Sam?
No, I haven't seen that one either.
It was made in the 2000s, Sam. Early 2000s.
Yeah.
No, it says 1999 right here. I just looked at it.
Well,
Sam,
2000. I watched it.
Sam, have you seen Draft Day?
I think so. Yeah, I think I've seen that one.
Who's in Draft Day?
Yeah, that was in. Yeah, I definitely seen that one. Yeah, I have. I've seen Draft Day.
Who's in it?
Damn, that's a hard question.
It's Kevin Costner. Jeez.
And Jennifer Garner.
Okay, I know who those people are.
Okay, so Sam really needs to get out and quit just watching sports all the time. So
He
the
hangs up.
pandemic
on
will let him expand his horizons.
How old are you, Sam? 21?
21.
Yeah, my son just turned 26 yesterday, and I know what Sam's going to do. He's going to hang up the phone, and he's whipping out his Xbox. That's what he's doing.
No, I don't have an
That's
Xbox.
PlayStation. Nintendo. One of them.
Atari.
Atari. Bong. I've got that.
Sorry. Yeah.
Get out of here, Mike. Get us out of here.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. For Steve Risley, Sam Teets, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.